Hey guys, it's Sharice.termon with EXP Realty, and today I'm doing a Tip Tuesday video. Yes, I know it's not Tuesday. I am a day late, but I said, you know what? I am not going to make excuses for the fact that I got my days mixed up thanks to the 4th of July holiday week, right? So I'm not going to make an excuse and wait another week to get this information out, because no matter what day of the week it comes out, I'm sure it can still add value to you. And this video today is for my owners out there who are thinking about selling and you're just not sure about the process. Maybe it's been 10 years or more since you sold your last house, and or maybe you're new. Maybe you never sold a house before and you'd love some information on the process. Keep in mind, I am giving you a high level overview of the process because I won't bore you with the details, okay? Because I'll tell you, it takes quite a bit to sell a house. It's more than just putting a sign outside the front or taking some photos. I have a list, different phases, right? From the listing phase to the marketing phase to, the transaction itself. Once that's in play and we find a buyer, there's a lot that comes with it. There's a lot of detail, a lot of communication, a lot of understanding, there's just a lot, right? So you want to make sure that you're in good hands and you understand the information that you need in order to make an informed decision. So I'm going to get right into it and really talk about sort of what to me is critical to the pre-listing events, right? Which is, when you sit down with a realtor, or at least with me, I like to understand what your needs are, what your concerns are, what your questions are, right? Where are you going? Where are you heading? What's important to you, so that I can connect with that and I can meet and rise to that, right? So it's really important for me to understand and have clarity around that so that we can devise a go forward plan. In addition to that, marketing, right? So obviously pricing our house is critical, right? So pricing the house properly through data, right? So my job is to share that data with you. I have access to data across Connecticut as a Connecticut realtor. So my job is to share that data with you specific to your neighborhood, homes like yours, and making sure that you understand, what the numbers are saying so that you can decide what's best for you. Our job is to really just have clarity around that so that we can come out the gate in the best possible position and not have to chase the market down and make adjustments, right? And so, that's our intention. And also our intention is to attract as many people to your home as possible. So, our job is to just make sure that we are doing all the right things, trying to cross our T's and dot our I's as much as possible on the front end so that we can have the best possible outcome. Of course, no one can predict the future. Every transaction is different. So I can't necessarily say, here's how to do exactly what happened in my last transaction, right? Everything is going to be different. Every buyer that comes to the transaction will be different. So it's important to keep those expectations and understanding in mind as you embark on this journey. But just know that as your listing agent, my job is to be your person and be lockstep with you and support you, but also, be honest with you about what's happening in the market so that you understand and really set that expectation so that you're clear right out the gate as to what the potential challenges might be, if any, right? If any. So that's our intention. But ultimately, preparing your house for the market, which might be, giving you some pointers on how to maybe reposition your furniture and stage the house nicely with all the things that you already have. Connecting you with resources to help you prepare for that from the curb all the way in, because we are going to be taking professional photos. I don't take photos with my phone, ladies and gentlemen. I hire a professional photographer for real estate who has real estate experience, who takes amazing photos. I have a photographer that handles all of my listings and she's amazing. So I like to leave that to the professionals, because when your property goes live, which I'll talk about next, buyers are looking online for properties that match their criteria, and they will make a decision as to whether to even show up at your property to tour it based on how it's being perceived online through the images. So it's really important that we get that right and we make it inviting, but we also want to make sure our images are depicting the realness of your property. We don't want to do fake photos, but we want to make sure that it's inviting, that the furniture placement looks great, that the rooms don't look cluttered, all of that, so that it really shines through the photography. So when we go live, that is really exciting time, but it might be a little nerve-wracking for sellers because you might, if all goes well, get a lot of buyers coming through there. So it could be a little overwhelming at times because you'll find that you have to constantly leave your house to give the buyers the space that they need to be able to tour your property. But that's okay. Just keep in mind that this is a short-term pain for a long-term gain, right? So you're looking for, actually I shouldn't say long-term because it's, it's right around the corner, hopefully the sale and everything. But what you're looking forward to is right around the corner, which is that next chapter. So going through a little bit of pain in the short term, you know what? It might be worth it, right? So if all goes well, we get a lot of buyers in the building and they're really interested. We get, multiple offers that you have to choose from. Now, when you choose a buyer, you're basing it on, the offer that they submitted based on the price and the terms that they are offering, right? So once you select a buyer, at that point, the next step is the buyer completes an inspection. In Connecticut, they have a 10-day window to complete inspections. Sometimes they get them done sooner, which is great because it allows both sides to know, whether we're moving forward after this inspection or not, faster than 10 days. So the buyer has an opportunity to complete a full inspection should they offer that in the terms of their agreement that you've accepted, and they can have all the inspectors come through to that property, to your property, within that window to make sure that that's the property that actually is still good for them, right? So they will learn all the great things about it, maybe some of the things that it might need that are more urgent or serious. And from there, they may decide that they want to renegotiate on the inspection. Now, not every buyer will ask for it, but a lot of buyers will ask for renegotiation, whether it be, you to repair it before closing or a credit for it at closing. So, there's different ways to work it, but sometimes that will happen. So it's important to understand that, that could happen. So once we get successfully through the inspection phase, the buyer's lender will order an appraisal. That means the appraiser will go out to the property and really assess it to comparing it to similar properties, looking at your neighborhood, all the things that your neighborhood offers, the market in that neighborhood, how hot it is, there's so many factors that go into an appraiser's number, okay? A lot of factors go into it. So it's important to note that that is an important event for a lender to know whether what their buyer is planning to buy your property for, is it worth that? Because a lender is never going to lend more money than a house is worth. So they want to make sure that they are protecting themselves from any risk associated with loaning on that property. So the appraiser comes out. They might take, 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on the type of loan that the buyer is obtaining. And they will take pictures and they'll do all that they have to do. And they'll submit this, 20, 30 page report to the lender within a week and share with the lender what their appraised value determination is. Now, what we're hoping for is that what it appraises for through the appraiser is at least the purchase agreement or purchase price that's already been agreed upon between you and the buyer. So if it's at that number or above, that's great. That means your property passed the appraisal. However, if the appraised value comes in lower than the agreed upon purchase price, that means we may have to renegotiate, right? Come to a meeting of the minds, between the buyer and the seller, right? Sometimes each side has to give a little bit and take a little bit, right? Give and take situation. So it's important to know that we have to get over that next hurdle, which is the appraisal, which could come with a little bit more negotiations. But it happens sometimes, and usually both sides, like I said, give and take, and everybody's happy and we can move forward. Once we successfully move forward through the appraisal, the buyer's attorney is likely already in the background performing a title search on your property, making sure that the chain of command, meaning, I shouldn't say chain of command, but the chain of ownership over, let's say, a 40-year period has not been broken, meaning every time that property conveyed to a new buyer and a new buyer and a new buyer, that it was properly done and recorded. And so you want to make sure that that's done properly. They're also checking for any liens on the property. A mortgage lien is normal from the seller, right? Seller likely has a mortgage that they owe, so that means it's recorded. But if there's other debts like medical debt and, I don't know, like, mechanics liens or any other judgments on that property, that buyer wants to make sure that they're not inheriting those issues, right? And so those things will have to be taken care of by the seller before they're able to convey that property to a new buyer. So that is an attorney's job, to make sure that those things are caught before the property is closed, right, successfully. So that is important. So now, as your listing agent, my job is to communicate, right? Communicate with you regularly, being there to answer your questions. My clients tend to text me a lot, which is fine. I'm open to whatever. The important thing is that I answer my phone and I respond to text in a timely manner. So that's critical. But communicating with you and updating you is important, but also answering and addressing your concerns. But also communicating with the other side of the transaction is also my job, to keep a pulse on what's happening, to make sure that things are still moving as smoothly as they should be. Communicating with attorneys, like, my job is to kind of be that glue. And so communication is critical in a real estate transaction, right? It can snarl it, and so you want to make sure that whoever you're working for has excellent communication skills, and they answer their phones and they do their jobs. So after we have done all of this, we are waiting for the magic words, which is clear to close. This is what we want the buyer's lender to say, meaning that the lender is satisfied with everything that they know about the property that their buyer is purchasing, and they're also satisfied with the buyer itself, their financials, and everything that they know about that buyer. And that will issue, or allow them to issue, a clear to close, which means that your attorney and the buyer's attorney, as well as the lender, will get on the same page to schedule the closing. So that is music to everyone's ears, because now we know we have passed all the tests and the hurdles, and we've gotten through all of that, and now we're heading to the closing table. This is also a time where you should be fully packed up, because usually by that time we have maybe 4 days, 5 days, 7 days maybe before the actual closing date is going to happen. So you need to be really buttoned up. Maybe you've already moved out, but if you haven't, I would say move out at least a few days before the actual closing date, because you want to make sure you're conveying the property free of all your stuff, but also making sure that there's no major repairs that need to happen now that you're moved out. Sometimes walls get, holes in them as you're moving furniture and all of that, or whatever. You want to make sure that you're handing over the property the way the buyer expects it when they last saw it on inspection day. Okay, so that's really important to do that. And, the buyer will perform a final walkthrough, usually the day before or the day of closing. That's their final opportunity to make sure the house is still standing, but also to make sure there's no major issues with the house since they last saw it. So that's going to be critical. So our job is to make sure that we're handing over the house the way it should be. The keys and everything that the buyer needs to be able to take possession is present, and all of that. All the instructions are given to the buyer. Any warranties that the buyer needs to be able to take over, whether it be a roof warranty or siding warranty or, appliances, all of that, everything is present for the buyer to be able to take possessions. And they get their keys at the closing table, essentially, and everybody's happy, right? So that's really a high-level overview. I hope that you receive some kind of value with respect to this overview, because it really is just meant to kind of give you a idea of what you should expect. Now, there's a lot of other detail that goes with this, and so should we work together, I will be there to walk you through. And I know that it's hard to retain all of this information. That's why I like to make sure I'm available for questions that come up, because chances are I'll probably have to say things a couple times because you've got a lot going on, right? You're likely trying to buy something, which I can help you buy, and you're obviously trying to sell your house at the same time. So understandably so, we have a lot going on in our lives. So I will be happy to meet with you, sit down with you, and talk about the process, talk about the market, talk about how we can, get your home sold and get you on to what's next for you. So should you have any questions, don't hesitate to call or text the number on the screen. And until the next Tip Tuesday video, have a great evening, great day, whatever time you're watching this video. And until the next time, bye.